The amount of hype for Legends EA was through the roof. Finally being able to revisit the Kalos region, a region with one of the most rich settings and lore in the franchise, along with introducing the fairy type and of course Mega Evolution, a gimmick that changed the landscape for the series in many ways. Pokemon X and Y was well received to a point, but still fell short, mainly in regards to its overall difficulty, which was a major step down compared to previous entries. It was still favoured among the 3DS lineup, but lacking. Though what X and Y brought to the franchise overall was undeniably revolutionary. After Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire were released, there were rumors of a supposed Pokemon Z version which would have focused on the third legendary Pokemon of the Kalos region, Zygarde, and hopefully develop Kalos a bit more, but alas, nothing came from those rumors, and the extra content with Zygarde that should have been a part of Gen 6 was pushed to Generation 7 with Sun and Moon. Leaving the Kalos region behind, but after the release of Pokemon Legends Arceus, the fandom was alive with concepts and ideas of a potential Legends game set in other regions, ideally a path setting to explore new narrative and gameplay elements the series hadn't seen before. Countless videos made, countless fans hoping to see the Legends series continue, and before we knew it, Legends CA was announced, getting the community as hyped as ever for the return of Carlos and the return of Mega Evolution. Looking at this game with hindsight now, it's clear that this was never going to be the ideal outcome the fans were looking forward to. But let's get straight into it. Let's start with the combat because it's honestly my favorite thing about this game. Battles are now active time instead of turn based, with your Pokemon's moves having a cooldown after usage in place of power points, making timing absolutely essential. One wasted or mistimed move could cost you the battle, and whilst not encouraged in game, try and position your Pokemon behind walls and other obstructions to avoid certain attacks where possible. Good positioning can help turn a battle in your favour selectively. This is easily the most fast paced battle system in the main title yet, adding a whole new level of interactivity in battles. One of the best ways to describe it is that it feels like you're battling in the Pokemon anime itself, with how active battles are. It's some of the most fun I've had in recent Pokemon yet. It's even faster than Legends Arceus, where battles, even against evenly matched opponents, could be ended in a matter of seconds depending on circumstances. It really is the most developed and well received aspect of the game. The ZA Royale is the game's main mode of progression. Your main goal is to rise up through the ranks. You do so by accumulating enough challenger points by winning battles to receive a challenger ticket, and face off against the allocated opponent in a promotion match, serving as the pseudo gym leader of your current rank. The ZA Royale was engaging. I always looked forward to seeing how many wins I could stack up throughout the night, and it did feel rewarding chaining wins and racking up more points and prize money. Although at a certain point it got way too repetitive. The line between tedium and fun was paper thin. To be clear, I overall appreciated it and genuinely enjoyed the Royale, but throughout the game's story and the post game, the points quota rises significantly, making it a bit too grindy. Like I said before, I didn't dislike this form of progression, but I can't help but feel like the previous Legends game, Legends Arceus, didn't burn me out when tasking me with raising my research level to move forward, and handled things better by having me perform a variety of things to achieve tasks. Overall, I think the Zero Royale should have been an extra activity you could do outside the main quest, an extra challenge for the player for players to sink their teeth into instead of the main course. Exploration was probably the most disappointing aspect of this game for me. From the game's announcement, we knew that the game's map would be based entirely in Lumio City. While this did raise a few eyebrows at the time, I thought Game Freak could work with this. There were plenty of titles which, despite having fairly condensed maps, had a large variety of content to engage with and locations to explore. Sadly, Legends EA validated most of my concerns. Most of the buildings in Lumio City aren't accessible to the player, leaving only wild zones to explore for the most part, and they just don't measure up to previous environments I could explore in the series, like in Legends Arceus, or Sword and Shield for that matter. It couldn't be helped given the nature of the map itself, but it's still quite disappointing, as having access to more interiors could have remedied the issues, at least a little bit. Mega Evolution finally made its comeback in this game, as expected, Among all the gimmicks of the mainline entries, this was easily the most popular and well received, so it was natural fans' expectations were high for the new designs. Honestly, in my eyes, most of the new ones are fine additions, expanding upon and enhancing the original design, and bringing back elements from previous evolutions. The majority of them do a good job, I think, though Mega Starmie is just uninteresting and bland. It's meant to be a joke design, pulling from Game Freak's history, specifically the Starman enemy from Earthbound. But I think they could have incorporated elements from different species of starfish and keep the reference. Though honestly, I think Mega Feraligatr is worse, though. Its core design really doesn't change at all, and it's the most clunky and poorly performed example of a Mega Evolution pulling traits from its pre evolution. Just straight bad, but like I mentioned before, I think most of them are actually fine. Let's talk about the Rogue Mega Evolution battles now. These were easily the most intense and nerve wracking battles. These give the noble Pokemon battles from Legends Arceus a run for their money and then some. The music and atmosphere for these are excellent and are a great addition, though, and this might sound familiar, the integration into main story's content makes them terribly repetitive and tiring. It got to a point where I needed to take breaks to alleviate the fatigue, mostly of trying to keep my character alive. But that's it in terms of gripes. They were challenging high energy encounters that pushed my team to their limits consistently. The satisfaction of finally beating them was rewarding. This game had arguably the most controversial release of a Pokemon title today, which is saying something considering the discourse fans had with Sword and Shield a while back. Pokemon Legends ZA, to me, was fun, but disappointing in many ways. Yeah, that's how I'd put it. Fun, but disappointing. I enjoyed my time with this game, but I got too bored of it too quickly. The main problem for me overall, though, is simply the fact that Lumio Sea is the entirety of the map, instead of all the Carlos region. And yes, I knew from the game's announcement that this was the case, we all did, but I thought there would be workarounds to help give the city even more life and content. The side quests are entertaining enough, albeit short, but it just doesn't deliver. I feel bad too because I feel like the developers wanted to give this game more too. Looking at the development history of this game shows that the developers really wanted to make the best experience they could, despite what the critical members of the community want others to believe. I've put a link to Turtlebro's video about Legend CA's the development history in the description. Please take a look at it. It opened my eyes to the truth of Game Freak's initial visions for the game, and it's fascinating. Even going so far as to design the exterior of Lumia City, suggesting that they were going to design parts of the world outside of the city, meaning the player wouldn't be confined and would be allowed to explore the region proper. Looking at the developer quotes and logs, it's disheartening, honestly, to see their enthusiasm and hopes gradually fade as time constraints held them back. But yeah, that's pretty much it for me. Thank you for watching.